Hey, this is Jotham. Welcome back, and today I'll be talking about what I've been up to regarding Rob with the Ball. I'll be showing you the different design choices I've made and what convinced me to do certain things. But first of all, I want to begin with this menu screen. So this is the first game in which I instituted a proper menu. Recently I've been going back and changing all my other games that have good menus, but this is the first one, and I wanted to make it clear and distinct. And so we've got a nice colour palette, the green, the purple, and a cheeky bit of blue, just you might be able to see. And just hovering over it's quite obvious, and we've got the credits, which has the music used, and then obviously starting with and game by me. So let's start as well. Well, the menu should set the scene. It's loading in the stuff. When you launch the game, it doesn't. Well, this is because I'm using the Unreal Engine itself. It does it like this. The actual game is already loaded. Okay, so we've got WASD to move. This game is a ball game, which means that it doesn't have character movement. And character movement means that in order to move the ball, you're using physics. And this provides a significant challenge. It's actually really hard to design just with physics when it comes to characters. So obviously we've got the WASD, but it's quite hard to maneuver. I press a button, I can jump, but it's not actually a jump. I'm actually slamming into the ground to make a jump. And this comes into its own, I think, later on. But actually, this reason, you know, it's the ball and it's physics-based, makes it quite hard to control. If I get really fast, it takes a long time to turn back, and we'll see that soon. Coming into this as well, you'll see that it's quite a distinct aesthetic style. I really wanted to go all out with this game when it comes to the aesthetics, and so I went, you know what? Black background. I initially started a level using the blockout tools which I normally use, and it just ended up looking like another one I put out called Chico and Grande, except a lot worse because Chico and Grande is quite fun to play when it comes to ball control or character control. It wasn't. It was just rubbish. Like, what on earth? So I decided, okay, I'll give it a distinct style. I want to choose colours that are quite muted, that, you know, don't look too garish, and I went with this purple and this kind of bluey green, like sort of grey as well, that kind of colour, and then the text is of course green. And this, I think, just really cements, you know, quite a nice sort of visual appeal, a visual style that is definitely unique to all of my games, like compared to any other kind of game I made. And also it just goes well with the music. So the music's not too loud, I hope, and I also wanted to give this game a lot of aesthetic appeal. Isn't just the visuals, it's the audio as well. So I wanted to have some nice lo-fi music, just so you feel relaxed, because the game's also quite frustrating to play if you're not used to it. So I've been talking about this for far too long. Let's move on to the next level. Okay, left click to jump or slam. You can also use space as well. And the players quickly learn, okay, they've got to jump. And also, without telling anyone, everyone goes straight away to these white pulsating zones. And, you know, all the people that playtested it did it without me telling them what to do, which is great. I'm really happy it worked. I wanted to make it clear, this is what you're going to. It's the only part in which something is pulsating. There will be other parts where things are glowing but not pulsating, so it attracts the player and they get it straight away. Okay, this is somewhere I'm supposed to be going. So now we're introduced to another mechanic. Right click to respawn, and I introduced this because some of the playtesters were able to launch their character out of the world, and I don't know how they did it. I don't know how to replicate it. But hopefully, because I haven't been able to replicate it since, but if it does happen, you can right click, respawn, and it's fine. And that's okay. But yeah, It just gives the player a bit more creativity, a bit more control over what they need to be doing. If they get really stuck here and they really can't get out, they do it another game. Here we're introduced to a running jump. If I just fall in, it doesn't work. People figure out pretty quickly they've got to do running and jumps. Also, it's actually a lot harder to do the depth, to judge the depth of this. People find it really hard to judge the foreground and the background, which is quite interesting. I utilised that in some places to make certain sections a little bit harder, but it isn't used all that much. There are only a few sections where you have to manoeuvre this particular way, you know, the foreground to the background and so forth. People found it really hard to judge, and I think that's part of it is the camera angle, and part of it is because you're most of the time you are moving left and right. So there you go. Okay, now we're introduced to a new mechanic. Left click while on green. Whoa! You get launched into the air, and this time it's a real launch. This is like an actual slam that pretends to launch you. This thing really launches you, and it goes really high. And having this slope design, I used to have it so it was straight up, but actually it was a bit too hard, and people would just slam into it and it wouldn't work. Having it slightly sloped, you might just be able to see, means that the player gets used to this idea. Okay, it's jumping, but also it means it's quite forgiving as well. So here we go. People go over here and they die. Alright. Obviously you've got to use the green. And then there's the words move slowly to control. Most people don't pay attention to that and they just go flying off, which is quite funny. Eventually they realise, okay, they respawn and it's the first thing they see. Move slowly for control. What? So then they're a bit tentative. Oh my goodness. And they think the red's going to kill them, but it doesn't. That's interesting. Okay, a small run up. Okay. Oh, and you overshoot. Alright, okay, that is a shame. We're back here. Oh, not this again. But actually, the more inquisitive players and the players that are more experienced playing games, they always try this, and players that didn't try pressing the button on the red, which is also quite interesting. But if you press the button when you're going on the red, it stops the ball entirely. It doesn't kill it, it just stops the movement. It pauses it in its place. And this allows you to get a small run up without having to worry. But of course, if you were to not press anything, then you would fly over. You can use these to your advantage. I'll give you another example. So I'm going to go really fast here. Bah, stops dead. Bah, stops dead. Alright, as fast as I can. Just about. So there you go. So players can use the red to their advantage. And hopefully they'll actually get it. The amount of red that's in this part of the level, they'll get it. Okay, we can do something with this. And everyone did in the end, but some players took a bit longer than others. Now we're here, okay? This yellow thing, lots of people didn't bother. Normally they go left to right, don't move up and down, and eventually try and jump, and it flies them off. Like, what on earth is that? Okay, that's weird. Now, yellow might have not been the totally best colour, because I think if some people are colourblind, they might not be able to tell the difference between the green and yellow, which is a shame. But most people aren't. And the yellow makes you fast, and it just speeds you across. And so lots of people, you know, at first didn't really understand it. Some people did, but not didn't. But eventually they figured it out that this is going fast. And they go over here and they introduced, okay, obviously we're going to jump up, but you can't jump. So if they got this far and they still didn't understand how the red worked, now they really, really will. There's no way you can't understand how the red works without, progressing through this section. But most players have, and they get the idea, okay, left to right, left to right. Another thing to notice is that lots of players initially try jumping like this. They go as far as they can against the wall and try and jump up. And they get really annoyed because it doesn't work. Fair enough, it is annoying, but it's because you need to have a run up before you jump in order to get the distance as well. And the more experienced players got that pretty early on. Now this section, most people failed. They just press it, and they fall back down again. They get really annoyed. Grrr, how could you? but eventually they figure it out. But actually, okay, we have to properly aim that. To aim where we're going with the green. And this just tricks off something in their mind. Okay, we actually do have to aim for the green. It's not just a case of you press it and hope for the best. You know, you can do some funky stuff with it. And the second time, I didn't have a case that the second time people failed at. Every single time, they failed the first one and then they made the second one. And in their mind, they were thinking, yeah, okay, this is something different. So if players didn't quite get the yellow before, now they really are. There's no choice. You've got to. There's no way to get across without it. And it just fires you across this, the gap, and there's a red to save you. If you fall down, by the way, that's it. You have to redo it again. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to time or the patience to do that. They fire across again. They've got a red option to stop, and then a green pad, and some players just go up in the air. Okay, they realise, okay, we're going up there, so let's aim it up, iron it up, and here we go. So this part of the level is quite hard, in particular because it's a lot of moving parts, lots of different, I say moving parts, lots of different connections you're doing. And the level itself, there's lots of areas to fail, and this kind of acts as sort of a 2/3 of the way through sort of thing, or maybe a halfway through sort of thing, you know, sort of to test your skill before moving on to the next part of the level. And so here we are towards the end, and we have to use the yellow to run up. If we don't, it doesn't work. So, heave! There we go. And into the next section. Right. So now we've come across the purple. Some people started the death spiral. Ah! Some people did not. But the people that did figured out pretty quickly. The people that didn't figured out around about now when they press the button and it flies across. Not press the button, hit the zone. Some people found this quite hard, but actually they got there in the end. So the people that didn't use this to zoom up, they came up and they sometimes couldn't do it, sometimes they could. Sometimes they can't get up, so they're forced to use the yellow. Just cementing last time, yellow is what you're supposed to be using. Hit the green, and away you go. Some people found that quite hard. This took a lot of testing actually. I had to keep on moving this particular line here, back and forth, to get the perfect distance that was the right difficulty. But in the end, I think I got a good one. Most people can do it now. And there are a couple of ways in which you can fail, but only if you don't do it properly. So I think it's a good distance now. So this section is a bit different in its entirety. So some people try to twinkle toe their way through. Some people just go for it. Ah! And it's like a proper pinball. Wild. So yeah, I think it's quite cool. I'm happy it works. But it's definitely a challenge. But I've given you a red strip because it's so hard to control when it's bouncing around the place. People got there in the end. Sometimes it's a bit longer than normal, perhaps. But they were able to get there, and I put this in the corner. So it's not like people can do it accidentally. And so now we've got the words, trust the pinball. So when I put these words, I assumed that people would just roll off. Some people jumped off, and it doesn't work if you jump off. I've just rolled off. I'll see if I can jump off. Let's give that a go, and I can show you. So some people went, way, and it doesn't quite work. Maybe it will now, but okay, it does. Eating my own words. Yeah, but yeah, sometimes it doesn't work if you do it in a weird way. But if you're patient and you trust the pinball, then it gets you across. And then this part caused a lot of frustration for people. So I just did it then, but some people found it really hard, and it took me a long time to really figure out the best way to do it. When some people played this, I didn't have the initial time. I didn't have this red strip as well, and that really hurt people, so I added that. I think it needed to be done to really help people out. But here we have the words 2 times the charm, and some people just did not look at it. And they kept on doing one thing over and over again, and it never worked, as you could just see. But some people did do 2, and they were quite happy. And the people that realised after 3 felt a bit dumb. But it's okay, I'm not so worried about their intelligence. I think the fact they got this far is demonstrative that they're quite intelligent, I think. So, let's see if I can do it now. There we are. This was a real difficulty as well to find the right distance for this particular line here. You saw it failed a couple of times. Yeah, it's just the way it is. Most of the time people are able to get over, but sometimes it's a bit more difficult than that. But they've got this far. Slow and steady, up you go. Slow and steady, up you go again. And I failed. Whoops. Let's get another go. And then we have the final jump. Okay. And you've got to use the yellow and into the green. Get over, heave. Oh no, not quite. Alright, so I've got to be really fast. Alright, I've got to be really fast. So let's go as fast as I can. No holding back, no holding back. Ah! And then you bounce across the yellow and then you die and you have to start again. And I'm kidding, not everyone, that happened to everyone. Every single person hit the purple the first time, which I'm so pleased, because it means that I am a successful troll, I think. But eventually people figured it out, that, yeah, you got to press it, press the button. I made it nice and big to be forgiving, and that, yeah, they got there. Phew. One person after doing this still managed to hit the green, sorry, purple I should say, but we won't mention that. That was not their finest moment. Okay, so after doing this, we get to the end of the game. Thanks for playing. And I want to have a nice way of finishing game by joking, you know, nice and cool, but with a ball. It's like, yeah, there we go. So that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. Just talk through the different processes and thoughts I looked into this. So thanks for watching. I hope you take care and see you next time. Cheerio.